Hello everyone, and I welcome you all in this session of SC-300 Microsoft Identity and Access Administrator. Thank you very much everyone for joining me today in this session. And now we are absolutely good to start our exam preparation session for the course called SC-300 Microsoft Identity and Access Administrator. So let's get started with the session. So once again, I welcome you all into this exam prep session for course called SC-300. And if you want to do register yourself for the upcoming webinars from the GTech, so you can scan the QR code which is showing on the screen. And also you can visit to that website, that is https:/gtechlearn.com/webinars.aspx, and do register yourself for the different upcoming webinars. What do we have different events and the exam preparation sessions for the different courses like AZ-305, MB210, EL900, SC900, MS900, and you can book your virtual seat onto those webinar sessions, and then you can learn and prepare yourself for the different examinations. So, as of now, in this session, we are going to talk about SC-300, which is for Microsoft Identity and Access Administrator Associate. So, if I'm talking about the upcoming webinars or the events, what we have at GTech, so here in my browser, you can see you guys can go to gtechlearn.com/webinars.aspx, and then here you can see all the different webinars what do we have available, and from this site you can go ahead and do register yourself for the upcoming webinars. Also, if you want to see the past events or the webinars which has been held by the GTechLearn, and you want to see the recordings of those webinars, or you want to see those webinars, so from in here you can see past events option available, and from this link you can see what are the different webinars what do we have at GTech, and you can watch it and learn the new things from in here. As well as here you can see we are having few exam prep sessions also available, and with that specific exam prep session, if you are preparing for the specific course like MB230, AZ500, AZ700, MB220, PL200. So you can go ahead and watch those webinar videos over there. So that is how you can access the upcoming event and the webinars, and also you can go ahead and access the past events what we have. So in this session, we are going to work with the exam preparation for the course SC-300. So let's get started with the certification journey first. So in this session, we are going to take a look over to the path which is redirecting us to the Microsoft Identity and Access Administrator Associate. So if you have Azure experience with you, if you want to go with the security domain of the cloud services, and you want to get certified with Microsoft certification related to the Identity and Access Administrator Associate, so in that case, you can utilize this session in order to make your preparation better towards your certification examination. So, if I'm talking about the prerequisites, so if you are preparing yourself for SC-300 examination, so if you are having the knowledge about the course SC-900, that is for Microsoft Security, Compliance, and Identity Fundamental. In that specific course, you are going to take a look about the fundamentals of related to the Microsoft Security, fundamental of related to the compliance, what we have, and the identity related fundamentals over there. That is not a prerequisite. For example, if you want to certify with SC-300. Then you only have to give one exam, that is SC-300, Microsoft Identity and Access Administrator, and then you will get that badge and you will be certified as Identity and Access Administrator Associate. But why I have mentioned that thing as a prerequisite, that if you are having the basic idea about the fundamentals related to the security things, related to the compliance things, and related to the different identity fundamentals, so it can help you better to understand the things and the topic what you have in SC-300, and also it will help you to prepare you you for your certification examination for SC-300. That's okay. If I'm talking about the training material, that how do we start for preparing ourselves for the SC-300, and what are the different options what we have in order to prepare ourselves for the certification? How do we go ahead and crack that specific certification? So we can have multiple learning options are present. So, first of all, if we go with the self-paced online learning, which is available onto the Microsoft Learn on the free node. So, that is the first way of the training yourself for the SC-300 examination. Else, apart from that, you can go with the instructor led paid training, and for the same you can find your learning partner, and according to your learning partner you will be assigned one Microsoft certified trainer who is going to teach you the SC-300 and who is going to make you prepare for your SC-300 certification examination over there. So these all are the two ways what you can do in order to prepare yourself on an official note for the SC-300 examination. So let me give you the whole idea about the things, what is the SC-300 course and what are the different preparation methods which do we have. So first of all, let's just talk about the course. So the SC-300 course name is Microsoft Identity and Access Administrator. This course provides you the knowledge and the skills that are related to the identity and access management in the cloud. And in that specific course, we are going to discuss the Azure Active Directory and its related components in Microsoft Azure, as this is a Microsoft based course, and Microsoft is using Azure Active Directory as a central identity provider for all the different services what we have in the Microsoft, like Office 365, Dynamics 365, Power Platform. So for all of these different services, Microsoft Azure is using Azure Active Directory as a central part of the identity and the management solution. And by using that solution, Microsoft is managing all the users, groups, related thing for the different services. So by having certified onto this course, you can go ahead and manage your identities over there, as this is a course for the security part. So in this course, we are majorly focusing on the thing that how do we go ahead and secure our identities over to the cloud environment, as well as if we are having our identities present into the on premises, then how do we go ahead and secure those identities, as well as if we are going through with the hybrid setup where we are synchronizing our on premises identities with the Microsoft Azure Active Directory, then what are the different configuration and security related options which do we have present. So that is something what we are going to have in the SC 300 examination. And in this specific course we are having five different modules are there. In module 1 we are going to talk about the implement identity management solution. Then we are going to talk about implement the identity solution, where we are going to discuss about the hybrid identity, external identity, and managing identity. In the first module, we are going to take some look related to the some security related things over there, like what is zero trust with the identity, what is administration, what is authentication, what is authorization, and the auditing. In the module number 3, we are going to talk about the authentication and the access solution. Like how do we go ahead and implement the authentication and the access solution for the same, where we are going to discuss managing the users, implementing the conditional access policy, managing the Azure identity protection. Then, in the module number 4, we are going to talk about some access management related things. Like if we want to go ahead and design the integration of enterprise applications for the single sign-on, if we want to go with the app registration implementation, if we want to go with the monitoring of the integration and the enterprise applications for the single sign-on, and then we are going to discuss about the implementing some entitlement management, access review, PIM related things over there. So that is something what we are going to talk about in the entire SC300. And if you are planning for your SC300 certification, then in that case you are going to prepare yourself in all of these things what we have discussed over there. So let me open up my browser and show you that what are the different ways are available in which we can prepare ourselves towards the SC300 exam certification. So let me open up my browser quickly. My apologies. And here you can simply type SC300 Microsoft on the Google, and once you run this, here you can see first link, that is Microsoft Learn link. You can simply open this link and it will redirect you to the Microsoft Learn website, where you can find all the details related to your exam called SC300. I'm also sharing this link over to the chat box with all of you for your reference. You can save it for your use. And now once we are on this page, here you can see all the details what we have related to this certification examination. Apart from that, here you can see what is the language version available for this examination. If you want to download the study guide in order to prepare yourself, you can go with that. You can also experience the exam sandbox, and we will also going to discuss that thing into our this exam prep session. That's okay. The important thing is that what we are going to discuss, that is the two ways to prepare for this specific examination. But apart from that, here you can see if you want to go with your exam schedule option, then here you can see you can check the price according to the country region from where you are and from where you are trying to book your exam. Then you can simply go with the schedule exam option and go ahead and schedule your exam for the same. That's okay. Now, here you can see inside the skills measure, what are the important area are there for the examination. And if I'm talking about the preparation ways, what you can use in order to prepare yourself for the certification exam. So you can have two different options are present. The first one, that is online, and that training is available for you from the Microsoft on a free node, where you can have multiple learning paths are available, like implement an identity management solution, implement an authentication and access management solution, implement access management for apps, implement and plan and implement an identity governance strategy. So from this free node training Microsoft Learn website, you can have access to all of those learning paths. And also you can see in each and every learning path you are having different modules are present. So you can have multiple modules are present into each and every learning path, which you can utilize in order to prepare yourself for the examination. And if you and you can learn the things those are related to the SC300 examination over there. That's okay. Now, if I'm talking about the learning path, so if I'm starting the first one, let me click on the start. So here you can see this is your first learning path which you have selected to learn. It could take 4 hours or 7 minutes in order to complete. And inside this learning path, you are having 4 different modules are available. And here you can see few details related to that specific learning path, that what are the things you are going to learn into that specific learning path. And now if I am scrolling it down, so here you can see what are the different modules which you are going to take a look into that specific learning path. What are the different things what you are going to learn in that specific learning path? And once you are done with that, so at the end of the every learning path, you are having this knowledge check thing available, and you can utilize this knowledge check in order to test your learning, that what are the things you have learned so far in the SC-300, and how your preparation goes on towards your certification journey. So you can utilize those knowledge checks from in here, and once you are done with first learning path, you can go ahead and open another learning path, and then you can go with your learning on a free node by using that Microsoft Learn self-paced learning, and then you can select the online and free way to learn the content that is related to the SC-300 and make yourself prepare for your certification exam. Then, if I'm talking about the next option, the next way which you have available in order to prepare yourself, so you can go ahead and select the instructor led paid training, and then you can select the specific course. And here you can see the SC-300 is 4 days course program which is available for you. And from in here you can see find a learning partner button, and from in here you can find a learning partner for yourself according to the country and the region from where you are having. And once you select your country and region, so now here you can see that you are having multiple learning partners are available, and you can select any one of them and go ahead with your learning thing. And when you select one of your learning partner, then you will be assigned with one Microsoft certified trainer who is going to teach you all the concept and the things what we have in the SC-300 examination. So these all are the two official ways, official methods by which you can go ahead and train yourself, prepare yourself towards your Microsoft certification for SC-300. Else, apart from that, once you are done with your training things, then you will be able to manage the administrative unit, you will be able to configure multi-factor authentication, you will be able to implement the conditional access policy, you will be able to implement the PIM, that is privileged identity management, as well as you can also go ahead and work with such self-study resources like hands-on labs, Microsoft Talks, Microsoft official practice test over there. So how do we go ahead and utilize those self-study resources in order to prepare yourself better for your examination? So in that case, if I'm talking about the hands-on, so on the GitHub, you can have all the resources are present. In the GitHub, you are having all the instructions available. Those are related to your SC-300, as well as if there is any resource file which you need to perform some labs, some hands-on practicals on the SC-300. So from the GitHub, you can also download those templates, those files as well, and then you can make the hands-on labs with you. Apart from that, you can also go ahead and subscribe for your Azure subscription for a specific period of time where you are having your subscription access, and you can utilize those subscription in order to perform your hands-on lab practicals over there. So let me go back to the portal, and here you can see if I am moving ahead here to azure.com. Now here you can see that I'm having the Azure website available onto my web browser, and here you can see the try Azure for free. If you select that specific option, then you can have access to the popular services free for 12 months. You are having 50 plus 5 plus other services free always, and you will start your free Azure account with $200 credit, and you are having 30 days in order to use it. Okay, and if you consumed all of your 200 credit, then your subscription goes disabled, or if the 30 days completed, then your subscription goes disabled. So whichever the condition comes first, your subscription goes disabled. But if you want to do some hands-on practicals, if you want to go with your SC-300 preparation with the lab practicals and hands-on experiences as well, so for the same you can go ahead and start yourself by creating a new Azure trial account from in here, and you can also explore the different services which provided by the Microsoft. So that is the URL, that is azure.microsoft.com/enus/free. So I'm sharing that URL on the chat for your reference as well. So you can take up that URL from the chat and you can go with your free trial creation over there. Once you have your free account set up with you, then after you can go to a new tab on your browser, or you can simply search for SC-300 GitHub. And then here, when you search this keyword SC-300 GitHub onto your browser, then here you can see you have one link, first link available for the GitHub, and you need to open that specific link. So let me go ahead and open this link. Now, in this repository of GitHub, you can see that you have all the files, instructions, and the labs are available. So inside that file, you are having all the demo files and the lab files are available, which is required to you in order to complete all your lab practicals for SC-300. As well as from in here, you can see you can go to the instruction option, and here you can see all the lab instructions available with you, which you can follow to prepare yourself on a hands-on basis as well. And here you can see on the GitHub with the lab 00 in the lab environment setup, you are also having that thing available, that how do you go ahead and create an Azure account and activate your Azure Active Directory Premium P2 trial license over there. So, as I told you, for your free subscription, you can go to this website, as well as you can follow that instruction that is mentioned onto the GitHub resource as well, and prepare your lab environment. Once you have your lab environment available with you, then after, what you can do, you can go to another lab, that is lab 1, and then you can go ahead and manage your users and role, and accordingly you can go ahead and perform all the labs what you have present as a part of SC-300 over there. So that is the one way in order to see the labs and the instructions. For your reference, I am sharing that GitHub SC-300 lab instructions link with you on the chat, so you can access it from in here as well as if you want to use those files what we have present into the all file folder, you need to upload those files somewhere, or you need to utilize those files inside your computer. So from clicking onto this code drop down button, you can also download the zip for that all file, and then all the files from the GitHub is available onto your local computer, and you can access those files in order to perform your lab hands-on practical as well. So that is the way how do you go ahead and perform the hands-on practical and implement the learning, whatever the learning you have inside this SC-300 course, and make yourself more confident towards your certification over there. That's okay. Now that is the one way to access the instructions over there. Apart from that, you can go to your browser. Let me close these tabs, and Then what you can do, you can search for SC-300 Microsoft Lab instructions. And then here you can see you are having this URL available, microsoftlearning.github.io, and then you are having the access to all the instructions over there. If you want to require the lab file, you can download all the live files from in here. So it will also download all the thing. The difference is that here you are getting all the things into a documented manner, and from in here you can also go ahead and read all the instructions and then perform your lab practicals for the same. So I'm also sharing this URL. So that is the two way to performing the hands-on lab with you. Then after, if I'm talking about the next one, that is Microsoft Talks. So in that case, if you want to go with the Microsoft Talks, so for the same, you are having the multiple quick starts are available, which you can utilize in order to implement some things. For example, you are learning about the multi-factor authentication, you are learning about the conditional access policy, you are learning about the group management over there, and you want to take some practical related thing, that how do we go ahead and implement the conditional access policy, how do we go ahead and implement the multi-factor authentication, how do we go ahead and create and manage the groups. So for the same, Microsoft is having different quick starts are available, and inside the quick starts you are having all the steps are written over here. So for example, if I'm searching that how do we go ahead and implement the conditional access policy, so you can use that keyword, that is access policy conditional access policy, and then you can search quick start Microsoft. And then here you can see conditional access policy quick start, and you can open it. And then here you can see that how do you go ahead and implement the conditional access policy. That's okay. Or what else you can do? You can simply search my conditional access policy quick start and search it. And then here you can see getting started with the conditional policy, or always go to refer with the Microsoft official link. And what else you can do? You can search for the Microsoft conditional access policy. And then here you can see Microsoft Learn access link, and from that specific access link here you can see the quick start, and then you can access that quick start where you are having all the prerequisites are available, like what are the prerequisites which you need to follow if you want to implement the conditional access policy. For example, what are the sign in without terms of use you can create, and all the steps are present, and you can go with those options. So that is the one way how you can go ahead and utilize the Microsoft Talks in order to prepare yourself with the different topic what we have present into the SC-300 over there. Apart from that, if once you are done with your training, once you are done with your hands-on lab, you are prepared and you want to test your knowledge before appearing to the real examination environment, before appearing to your SC-300 certification examination, and you want to go with the different practice test. So Microsoft also providing some official practice test, and you can utilize those paid practice tests in order to test your learning, in order to test your knowledge before appearing to the real certification exam for SC-300. And how do you go ahead and access those free certification exam? So here you can see, if I am closing those tab first, and then here let me search for the SC-300 Microsoft again, and I am opening up this first Microsoft Learn link. And if I'm scrolling it down, then here you can see I'm having this option available, official practice test. So you can open this link and then you will be redirected to the mindhub.com website where you can find paid official practice test for the course called SC-300, and you can take those practice tests and see that how your preparation goes for your certification, how much you confident and prepare yourself for the certification. So those all are the things that is going to be a part of your certification journey towards your SC-300 examination. So you can start your journey with the training and the hands-on experience, and then you can prepare yourself with the hands-on lab. You can prepare yourself with the different Microsoft docs, and then you can go with the Microsoft official practice test, and you can prepare yourself to crack your Microsoft certification exam for SC-300, and then you will get the badge and you will be certified as a Microsoft Identity and Access Administrator Associate. So that is all about the certification journey. My apologies. What we have to discuss in here as a part of your SC-300 certification journey. Let's move ahead with the session and discuss what are the important areas which do we have to prepare in order to crack the SC-300 examination successfully. So inside that we are having four different study important area, or we can say the groups are available which we need to prepare, and we need to work upon those groups in order to crack the SC-300 examination and prepare ourselves for the same. So here you can see in the slide and in the picture as well, on the group one, we are having 20 to 25% of the question weightage in the examination, and that is related to implement identities in Microsoft Azure Active Directory, like what are the different identities which do we have present into the Microsoft Azure Active Directory, what is Azure Active Directory, what is the difference between the Active Directory and the Azure Active Directory, what are the different implementation options which do we have, how do we go ahead and implement the hybrid scenarios where we are using our on-premises environment as well as we are using our on-cloud Azure Active Directory for accessing the resources and providing the access to the different resources to our users as well. Then we have a group 2 available where we are having 25 to 30% of question weightage available in the examination. And from that specific group, we are discussing about the implement the authentication and access management. So once we have managed or implement the identities in Azure Active Directory, then the security becomes the integral part of that specific thing. So in the group 2, we are going to focus on the authentication method and the access management. What do we have present for the identities? From the group number 3, we are going to discuss the implement access management for the applications, that how do we go ahead and manage the access for the applications. And from that specific group we can go ahead and see 15 to 20% of question weightage in our examination. Now, from the last but not the least, group number 4, or study important area 4, that is plan and implement identity and governance in Azure Active Directory, where we are going to discuss about the entitlement management, where we are going to discuss about the access review, lifecycle management of the identities, and we are going to discuss about the privileged identity management over there. So from that specific area of study, we are going to see 25 to 20% of the question weightage inside our examination. So the more percentage from the area we are going to see, the more number of questions in the examination. So that is some important area in which we need to prepare ourselves if we want to go ahead and crack the SC-300 examination. So that is related to the SC-300 examination important area. And if I am talking about the exam in here, so from the exam perspective, you are total having 150 minutes available with you for the SC-300 examination. And as we all know that SC-300 is an associate level examination. So in that case, we are having 120 minutes available for the answering questions over there, and the rest of the 30 minutes which do we have present for the check-in process and preparing ourselves and setting up our exam environment. For example, when you are appearing in the examination, then you need to set up your desk. If you are giving the examination from your home, you need to verify your identification. You need to click some pictures of your exam desk. You need to scan your exam desk. You need to provide some additional information. Then you will get one proctor who is going to release your exam once he's checked all the thing on your end, and then you will be able to access your examination. So for the total, you are having 150 minutes are available, and in those 150 minutes, those 30 minutes are all for the check-in process. If I'm talking about the questions, what you are seeing in your SC-300 certification exam, so you are going to see 40 to 50 questions in your SC-300 examination. Okay, and into that specific examination, in those 40 or 50 questions, you are getting 40 to 50 questions in between. So in 40 and 50, you are getting 39, 42, 50, 51. Oh, sorry, 41. As like that, you are going to see the question in between that number, and you are going to see different category of question available into that specific examination. So if I'm talking about the first category of the question, what you are going to see in your examination, that is based on the case study, that in the examination you are getting the case study for any fictitious company like Contoso.com, Fabricam.com, and for that specific company you are having the current requirements are available, current environment are available, like what is the current environment in which that organization running, what are the different workload that are deployed onto that specific environment. Then in the next tab, you are having the information that is related to the requirements, like what are the requirements which company need, what are the different problems company are facing with the current environment, what are the technical configurations which we are running into the environment, what are the technical changes which we need to make, what are the different solutions for which the company is looking, and accordingly we are having solutions are available, and we need to select the proper and correct solution for the organization, and based on that specific case study we are going to see 7 to 8 questions for the same. So that is the first category of the question which we are going to see in our SC 300 examination. Talking about the next question category, what we are going to see inside our examination. So that is the situation scenario based questions which you are seeing in your examination. And based on that, we are having one problem situation or one problem scenario available. And for that specific problem scenario, we are having 4 to 5 different solutions are present as a part of individual question, and you have 2 options are present, yes or no in that question, and you need to select yes for the best proper solution and no for the other ones. The important thing is that of this question, when you are going through with that category of the question in your examination, you cannot go back and change your answer. So based on that situation based question, you are going to see 4 to 5 question in your examination. But the important thing is that, for example, if you are completed with question number 1 on that area, question number 2 on that area, then you want to go back to the question number 1, then you won't go back, and then you can't go back to that specific question. The important thing is that when you are answering those questions, you need to answer them correctly. However, for other questions what we have, you can go ahead and mark your question review for later if you are having any doubt on the answer what you have selected for the question. So once you are done with your all questions, then you can go ahead and review those questions later and change your answer. But only specific those situation based question, you cannot have option available to change your answer again. And if I'm talking about the third area of the question, third category of the question, what you are going to see. So that is drag and drop based question, what you are going to see over there. How you are going to see drag and drop question. So for example, if you are having one problem available and based on that problem, you can have multiple steps are arranged into a shuffle order on the left hand side of a screen, like you can have this step, that step, and that step present for the specific problem, and that is not put into the correct order. This will in the shuffle order. And what you need to do as a part of the solution, you need to drag those steps into a proper manner. Like this one is going for the 1, this one is going for the 2, and that one is going for the 3. So you need to drag and drop those questions into a proper order. So that is the third type of question what you are going to see in your examination. You are also having fourth type of question category available, where you are having build list type question available, and inside that specific question you are having one statement available, and you need to select the specific option in order to complete that sentence, or in order to select the correct answer for the same, and you have to put the correct option in order to complete that specific sentence, and you need to select that option from the list in the question. So that is the fourth type of question what you are going to see in your examination. Sometimes you are also going to see the simulation based question available in your examination. What is that? So in that type of questions, you are going to see the problem scenario, and you can have a sandbox virtual machine available with you, and you need to implement the solution on the practical basis. So for example, in that type of question, you are going to see a question like a company, a fictitious company Contoso wants to configure the conditional access policy in their organization. So how do we do that? And then you need to go ahead, utilize the sandbox virtual machine, which is presenting to the exam area, and you need to implement the conditional access policy on the same. Apart from that, you can go ahead and see one basic type of question, that is multiple choice based question you have available in the examination, and inside that you are having scenario based question available, and based on that you are having 4 or 5 options are available accordingly, and you need to go ahead and mark the correct answer for the same. Into that type MCQ, you can have 2 different type of questions are available, where you are only having one correct answer, and sometimes you can go ahead and select multiple answers as a correct solution over there. So these all are the question categories what you are going to see in your examination. Apart from that, if I'm talking about the markings in here, so the important thing is that there is no minus marking presenting to the examination. However, the exam is going to be total of 1000, in which you need to score at least 700 or more than that in order to clear your certification for the same. Rest of the things are like that. You need to answer all of the questions over there. If you are skipping any question, then you will not be able to submit your examination. So if you are having 40 to 50 questions in your examination, then you need to answer all of them in order to submit your examination. However, if you are having the doubt into any question, so as I told you, you can mark those questions as a review later, and after that, once you are done with your all questions and you want to take a review onto those questions, you want to make changes into your answer, then you can go ahead and make the changes into your answers, and then you will be able to submit your examination. On the right hand side of your screen, on the top right side of your screen, you will be able to see the time remaining, how much time remaining in your examination, and you need to complete the exam into that specific time period. Apart from that, when you are giving your examination, the entire exam session will be recorded. No gadgets are allowed in the examination, and you have to put your camera on when you are giving your examination. So the entire exam session is going to record it over there. That's okay. So that is all the thing which we need to provide you in order to give you the brief about the examination over there. That's okay. Now moving ahead, and let's get started with the exam prep session of SC-300, which is for Microsoft Identity and Access Administrator on official node over there. So let's get started this session with a quick introduction in here. So my name is Ayush Mishra. I am working as a Microsoft certified trainer at GTechLearn. And if I'm talking about my experience, so I'm having 6+ years of experience in the training industry. I have started myself as a system administrator, but slowly and gradually I have upgraded myself towards the different technologies of the Microsoft, like infrastructure side of Microsoft Azure, Power Platform, Dynamics 365, Exchange Server, Office 365, PowerShell as well. And if I'm talking about my time, so my 60% of time goes for training the customers what we have in GTech and across the globe, like UK, US, United States as well. Apart from that, my 40% of time goes for consulting the different customers and helping them to implement the different architectural solutions for their cloud environment over there. If I'm talking about my work, so I'm working towards the infrastructure side of Microsoft Azure as a primary area of my work, and I'm working inside the security domain as a secondary area of my work. I'm also certified in different Microsoft tracks over there. Like in the Azure, I'm having certification available with me for SC, sorry, AZ-900, AZ-104, AZ-500, AZ-700, AZ-305 over there. In the security domain, I'm having the certification SC-100, 200, 300, 400. From the Dynamics area, I'm having MB230, MB240, MB220, MB210, MB300 certifications available with me, as well as from the Power Platform area, I'm having PL900, PL200, PL400, PL600 certifications are available with me. And also I'm having the Microsoft Certified Trainer batch with me. So that is little bit about myself, like what I was working up, what I am working in. So now let's get into the session and let's discuss the very first concept what we have to discuss as a part of the exam preparation of SC-300. So before talking about the Azure Active Directory, let's just discuss about the identity in here. That what is identity? So if I'm talking about the identity in here, so identity is something which is representing a user. For example, if I am running one organization like Contoso, and inside my organization Contoso, I am having different employees are present, and I am having different applications and resources are running in my organization, and we want to give access to those users to the different resources and the applications what we are running inside my organization Contour. So for the same, we need identity, and identity is majorly representing a specific user. So inside my identity provider, we can go ahead and create a identity, and accordingly we can assign the roles, permission, and the resource access to the user. If I'm talking about our on-premises environment where we are working with the limited network thing, so where we are using Active Directory Domain Services as a part of the solution related to the identity, in order to managing the networks, in order to managing the file shares, printers, and the users objects over there. But when we are talking about the cloud, so in that case we are working inside the entire country. We are working over to the globe. We are working with the different regions. We are connected over there. So in that case, the Microsoft Azure is using the Azure Active Directory as a central identity provider over there, and we can have that available if we want to go with managing the role, managing the users over there. That's okay. So let's just talk about the Azure Active Directory over there. So Azure Active Directory is a Microsoft cloud-based and identity access management service which helps your employee in order to sign in and access the resources in your organization, and also it will help you to access the external resources such as Microsoft 365, Azure portal, and different software as a service applications over there. Apart from that, it will also help you to access the internal resources such as some applications what you are running inside your corporate network, and you can also having the different applications available what you have developed with your organization. So if I'm talking about the Azure Active Directory, so it will give you the access towards the different on-premises and web applications what you are running. It will also give you the access to the different cloud hosted applications. It will also give you the access towards the different software as a service applications what we have running, like Microsoft Azure and Office 365 as well as you can connect your Azure Active Directory to your Active Directory domain services like your on-premises Active Directory, what you are running, and then you can create a synchronization between them, and then you can provide the resource and the application access towards the user what you have present in your on-premises Active Directory, as well as you can distribute those resources and application access to the users what you have present in your Azure Active Directory as well. That's okay. So that is the capability of Azure Active Directory. So who can use the Azure Active Directory? Your IT administrators can use the Azure Active Directory if they can, mm, or if they want to manage or control the access towards your application, towards your resources over there, then you can go ahead and utilize the Azure Active Directory. For a quick example in here, in my organization, I am having one application app one available, and as an administrator, I know that this is a sensitive information. Sorry, this is a sensitive application which contains some critical data that is related to my organization, and I need to provide that application access to the different employees what I have in my organization. So instead of giving them the access directly, what we can do, we can implement the multi-factor authentication that when the users inside my organization is trying to access that specific application which contains the sensitive data that is related to my application, then in that case, user must have to go through with the multi-factor authentication. Then user can access that specific application. As well as you can go ahead and use the Azure Active Directory by your app developers as well. Now, the question comes up, hi Ayush, how my developer can go ahead and utilize the Azure Active Directory. So, as an app developer, if you want to use the Azure Active Directory, so you can use Azure Active Directory for adding the single sign-on capability towards your application, and it will allow to work with the user's pre-existing credentials, and also Azure Active Directory provide the different APIs that can help you to build the personalized app experience by using the existing organizational data. Apart from that, if you are subscriber with the different Microsoft SaaS applications like Microsoft 365, or I can say Office 365, Azure, Dynamics 365, in that case, as a subscriber, you are also using the Azure Active Directory over there, because if you are having any tenant available with you, like Microsoft 365 tenant, Azure tenant, Dynamics CRM tenant, so you are automatically using the Azure Active Directory over there. And in the Azure Active Directory, you can go ahead and work with the different options. Either it could be related to managing the roles, either it could be related to managing the users, either it could be related to managing the groups and all the things over there. So these all are the things which do we have to discuss as a part of the Azure Active Directory. And let's go ahead with the next slide that is talking about the Azure AD defined user type. So as I told you that inside the Azure Active Directory we can manage our users. So in the Azure Active Directory we are having different type of user defined types are available over there. So what are those users? So in the Azure Active Directory we can have three different type of users are present. The first one, that is cloud identity, next one, that is directly synchronized identity, and the last but not the least, that is guest user, what we have present into the Azure Active Directory. Now let me tell you one scenario. For example, I am having one organization, fabricam.com, and inside my organization I am having one on-premises server present. That's okay. And this is my Active Directory domain service. And here I am having few users are available like Ram, John, Sham, and this is my company Fabricam. Okay. And also I am having the Azure subscription with me, where I am having my Azure Active Directory present over there. And in my Azure Active Directory I am having few users like Shivam, Nub, Dev. That's okay. So if I am talking about the different type of users what I have present into the Azure Active Directory, for the same, let me create one more scenario that I have an other company, and or I can say that I'm working with any other company, that is Contoso.com or Contoso, and inside the Contoso we are having few users like Mayank, Shubham. Now in my Azure, I am having few applications are available, and we want to give that app access to the users for the environment that is Contoso. So what we can do, instead of creating this user again in my environment, I can invite those users from their tenant, and then we can invite that user, and I can have user Mayank available in here, and I can have user Shubham available in here. So those users can use their existing credentials, that is mayank@contoso.com, shubham@contoso.com, in order to access this application. That's okay. If we want to synchronize my Azure Active Directory with on-premises Active Directory, then we can also set up that synchronization with using one tool which we are known as a Azure AD Connect, and which is known as a Azure AD Connect. And once we synchronize our on-premises user towards the Azure Active Directory, then we can also have those user Ram, John, and Sham present inside my Azure Active Directory. Now, in my Azure Active Directory, I am having all the users are present, whether it could be from the external organization, external tenant, it could be from my on-premises environment, and it could be homed in my Azure Active Directory. So now let's just discuss those three defined user type what we have in Azure Active Directory. Let me change the color for the better explanation. So what type of users which only exist in my Azure Active Directory are known as a cloud identities. So in that case, user Shivam, Nav and Dev is going to be known as a cloud identity. Then we have a directly synchronized identity. So what the users which do we have exist in the on-premises Active Directory, and we sync those users towards the Azure Active Directory. Those users are known as a directly synchronized identity. So in my case, in my scenario, user Ram, John, and Sham is going to be directly synchronized user. And when we are having some external or invited identities, those users are not a part of my tenant or my organization. So those users are going to be known as a guest user. So in that case, the user Mayank and Shubham is going to be a guest user for my Fabricum organization's Azure Active Directory. So these are the three different type of user defined type of available into the Azure Active Directory. That's okay. Now let's jump up to the next slide. And here it is talking about invite and manage the external user. But before moving ahead this option, we need to view the things like how Azure Active Directory looks like, how do we go ahead and manage the users, how do we go ahead and manage the different options what we have present in Azure Active Directory, how do we go ahead and access the Azure Active Directory. So for the same, I'm opening up my portal and let's take have a look on the Azure Active Directory. Okay, so now here I am opening up my portal. Let me close those tabs, and here I am opening up Azure portal. So let me open it on the incognito mode. Here I can open portal.azure.com, and then let me make a login with my admin credentials, which I am going to use for the demonstration. So this is going to be my admin account, what I want to use. Let me go with the next. And then in here, let me use this password for my this account. Okay. So now you can see I'm logged into my Azure portal, and if I want to access the Azure Active Directory, so inside the recent option you can see that I'm having that option available because in my previous classes or in my previous practicals I have used that service. So that's why I will be able to see that service in the recent section. But if you can't see that in the recent section, then you have two different options are present. You can go to these three ellipses or three lines in here, and then you can select the Azure Active Directory from in here. What else you can do on the same node? You can go to the search area and you can search for the Azure Active Directory, and you can open the Azure Active Directory from in here. And once you are having the Azure Active Directory, then you can see the name of your Azure Active Directory, what is the tenant ID, how many users you have in that tenant, how many groups you have, how many applications you have, what is the license in which you are running your Azure Active Directory. So we can have multiple license additions are available in the Azure Active Directory. We will discuss that thing as well. Then here we can go ahead and manage the user group, external identity roles and administrative unit. So we have multiple things are available. So let me give you some information related to the Azure Active Directory Edition. So as of now, here you can see that we are running the Azure AD Premium P2. So what are the different licensing options which do we have available related to the Azure Active Directory? Let me share that information with you. So I am going to open up my whiteboard for the same. And once it is open up, and here you can see if I am opening this up. So here you can see that I am having all the details are available that is related to the different Azure Active Directory editions. So let me clear those things first. Okay, and now I want to zoom this picture. And now here you can see if I'm talking about the Azure Active Directory option. So we can have free edition available. We can have Microsoft 365 app edition, or we can have premium P1 or premium P2 edition available. And here you can see the list of the features what we have present as a part of the Azure Active Directory. And according to the edition what we are using, we are having the access to the specific feature. So if I'm talking about the free edition of Azure Active Directory, in that case we can have maximum 5 lakh objects which we can add inside the Azure Active Directory. In the Microsoft 365 apps, we are having no object limit. In the premium P1 and P2, we are having the same data available, same capability available. In the single sign-on facility, you can see we can have unlimited single sign-on options are available into the all edition. If we want to go ahead and manage the core identity and access, so we can have that option present in all the versions of all the editions of Azure Active Directory. We can go with the business to business collaboration with all the Azure Active Directory edition. If we want to configure the identity and access for Office 365, in that case, we cannot use the free edition of Azure Active Directory. However, this thing is present into the Microsoft 365 app, Premium P1 and Premium P2 edition of Azure Active Directory. Let me give you one more information, and the important information in here. If you are subscribing for any of the Microsoft 365 product, then you will automatically having this edition of Azure Active Directory available with you. That's okay. Apart from that, if you want to go ahead and use the premium features, you want to set up hybrid identity, you want to go with advanced group access, you want to implement the conditional access policy, you want to implement identity protection. So in that case, you have to have the at least Azure Active Directory Premium P1 edition available with you. Then you can go ahead and implement those things as well. And if you want to get access to all the features what we have into the Azure Active Directory, so in that case, you have to go with the premium P2 edition over there. So these all are the different editions what we have present as a part of the Azure Active Directory. That's okay. Now, if I'm talking about the users in here, so you can simply go to the users option, and from in here, you can create a new user. So as of now, I'm having total 45 or 35 users are present in my Azure Active Directory. If I want to create a new one, then how do we create it? You can simply go to the new user and create a new user from in here. You have two different options are present. You can go with that option. You can create a new user in your organization. And if you want to invite a new user, then you can go ahead and utilize this option. As of now, let me go and simply go with that option that is adding a user. So in that case, let me create a user Ayush in here, and the name is going to be Ayush Mishra. And those fields are optional. I want to create the password for my this user. And then if you want to add this user into any group, you can go with that. If you want to go with assign the role, to any or a specific user, I can say to you, so you can do that. You can go and enable and disable the sign in for the user. Then you can go with the user's location. So let me go ahead and type the location for the user. For example, let me go with that option, and then you can go ahead and create a user. So that is the way how you can go ahead and create the user. However, if you want to create multiple users at a time, means if you want to create 10, 20, 30 users at a time, so in that case, so in that in that case, you can go ahead and use that bulk operation. So if I refresh my Active Directory once or twice, then I will be able to see this newly created user Ayush in here. That's okay. And now here you can see the user type is member. It means that all of these users are homed in Azure Active Directory. Now let me show you how do we go ahead and create a bulk user in Azure Active Directory. So for the same, I need to copy the user principal name, oh sorry, the primary domain name. Let me copy this, and now I am going to the user. Inside the user, you can see I can have bulk create option available. Let me go with that option, and I'm downloading the CSV file, and I'm opening up the CSV file. And here I need to provide some information like what is going to be the username, what is going to be the initial password, I want to block sign in or not, I want to set the department, or I want to set the user's location for the user or not. That's okay. So here I want to create few users as of now. So let me create the user like user 01 and user 02, and let me drag it. And for example, I want to create 10 user. Okay. And in the user principal name, let me type user 01 at the rate, the domain name what I have copied. In the password, let me type the initial password for the user. I don't want to block sign in for the user. And in the username, let me go with the user. In the last name, let me go with the 01. And I'm filling up this information. And now here in the department, let me set HR department for my those users. And in the location, let me select the user's location. And let me do one thing. Let me copy this HR, and I want to provide the HR till the user number 5, and rest of the my user is from the IT department, for example. Now in the user's location, I am going to set the user's location same for all my users. In the block sign in option in the password, I am going to have the same thing. Like I don't want to block sign for the user, and the password is same for all the user. Let me go ahead and complete the user principal name. And here I want to create two more user like admin HR, and let me go ahead and create one more user that is admin IT. Okay, and inside the user principal name, let me type admin IT at the rate the user principal name or the domain name what I have copied, and in the admin IT, let me type and let me correct the user principal name for the admin HR. So this is going to be HR at the rate this one, and here let me type IT at the rate and the domain name. And I want to go with the rest of the field as well. So let me copy this thing and let me paste it. Okay, let me copy it again and let me paste this information. Here I want to type admin HR, and here I want to type admin IT, and here I can type the department as HR, and here I can type the department as IT, and in the user's location let me provide the user's location, and I'm saving up this file. So now here you can see I have filled all the required field that is important in order to create bulk user. Once I'm done with that configuration file, let me close it, and I need to upload this file. So from my downloads, I am uploading this file, and now you can see file uploaded successfully. If I am having any mistake in that specific file, then we cannot go ahead with that specific step. And let me go with the submit button. And once we click on the submit, so from in here, we can see the bulk operation status. And from in here, we can see the status, and that is the success. All my users are created. That's okay. Let me go back to the Contoso user, and inside the user section, let me set up a filter, and I want to see the username, user principal name that starts with user. Okay, and let me apply that filter. And in a few moments, I will be able to see all the users what I have created, as well as I can also go ahead and add one more filter where the user principal name is containing the admin or what I have present. So here I can simply search with the IT, and here you can see I am having my user IT available if I'm searching with that specific thing, or once I have clear the filter what I have applied, and let me search for the IT and HR. So here you can see I'm having those admin users also present. That's okay. So that is how we can bulk create user. Same if we want to bulk invite the user. So if we want to invite a single user, so we can simply go ahead and click on the invite external user, and from the same we can have those options available. Like we can provide the name, email address, and the first name. So for example, if I want to invite one user, that is Ayush Shukla, for example, and here I need to type the email. So let me use this email address, and the first name is going to be Ayush, and the last name is going to be Shukla. And then if I want to send some personalized message, so hi Ayush, please accept the invitation for accessing the Contoso company resources, and then I can type regards Contoso admin, and then I can set the user's location for that user if I want, and then I can invite the user. So this is the way how do we go ahead and invite the user. And once the invitation completed, then I am expecting one email onto my this email ID, that is ayushofficial651 at gmail.com. So now you can see successfully invited the user. That's okay. And then if I am opening up my email, so it could take some time. And then here you can see inside my this account, I am having one invitation available. Like Microsoft CDX invited you to access application within their organization. And here you can see I'm having that customized message also available. Please accept the invitation for accessing the Contoso company resources. Regards Contoso admin. So if I want to accept that invitation, we can just click on to the accept invitation, and then this invocation is accepted, and then I will be able to access the resources for the Contoso. And why I'm getting this Microsoft CDX invited? Because this is the user account, the name of my admin account. So that is how we can go ahead and invite the user. And once we are first time signing to the thing, then it will send one code in my email. And let me refresh my email, and here you can see this is the code. I need to put that code in here, and then I will be able to access the resources what we have presenting to the Contoso. So that is how the user invocation work. And when we trying to access the resource, then we need to give the consent. And when the consent is done, then we can access all the application and the resources which has been shared to the external user. So that is the way for inviting the individual or a single user. So same as like that, how do we discuss that? How do we go ahead and create bulk user? If we want to go ahead and create multiple invocation for the multiple users over there. So for the same, for the user section, we can go ahead and open the bulk invite option. And let me go ahead and download the CSV file for the same. And here we need to provide the invitation option for the same. So inside that file, we need to provide the email address, redirect URL, or the customized message if we want. So in that case, I don't want to change the customization method. Let me provide the email ID, that is ayushofficial651 at gmail.com. I want to use not this ID. I have just used it. I want to use Ayush official 6 at outlook.com. I want to use the another ID, that is ayush.mishra at gtechlearn.com. And I want to use one more ID, that is ganesh.gzb at outlook.com. And I want to leave that information as it is for all my invitation. And once I have done with this file, so here you can see I have these three email addresses are available for the invitation. Let me go ahead and upload that invitation file, and then let me go with the submit. Once I have done with the submit, from in here we can see the bulk invite status, and in a few moments we will be able to see the invitation option, and it is successful. And I'm expecting the email on my specific accounts, whatever what the accounts I have used for the same. So now here you can see, if I am opening up my email over there, you can see I have received the invitation on my first email ID what I have added, and here you can see welcome to the Contoso organization. In this one, I have also received the invitation, that is ayush.mishra@gtechlearn.com. In the Ganesh GZB Outlook account, here you can see that we are also having that invitation available. So that is how we can go ahead and work with the bulk user invitation. So we can share the direct link to the application, that is the individual invite. We can set up a self-service app management for gallery and the HTML based application, or else we can go with the bulk invite option. If we want to manage the restricted access, so we can go ahead, add the different role groups and licenses to the guest user as needed. So that is the option what we need to discuss related to the user thing over there. Moving ahead and talking about the Azure roles over there. So there is a big difference between the Azure roles and the Azure AD roles. So at a high level, if we are talking about the Azure roles over there, so the Azure roles control the permission to manage Azure resources. However, the Azure AD roles control the permission to manage the Azure AD resources. So if I'm talking about the Azure resource, so in that case, we are having Key Vault, virtual machine, storage account, event hub, Sentinel, those resources are available what we are using. If I'm talking about the Azure AD resources, so in that case we are having licenses, users, groups, administrative units, PIM, conditional access, those things are available. So we are having the different options are available. So if you want to go ahead and manage the different Azure resources, then we need to assign the Azure role to the user. However, if we want to assign the user role in order to manage the Azure AD things over there, so in that case, we need to go ahead and provide the Azure AD role to the users. And also, we know that the Azure AD can be accessed by external as well as internal resources as well. And users can be IT admin, app developer, or the Microsoft subscriber. So we are having some key Azure AD role like global administrator. And if I'm talking about the other one like user administrator and billing administrator. So now here you can see in the Azure role, we can specify the scope at multiple level. Like we can specify the scope at the management group level. We can specify the scope as a subscription level, resource group level, or the resource level. And also we can access the Azure role information in the Azure portal, Azure CLI, Azure PowerShell, ARM template, and the REST APIs. If I'm talking about the Azure AD role, so we can specify the scope to those role on to the tenant level only. And we can access those role information in Azure admin portal, Microsoft 365 admin center, Microsoft Graph, and Azure AD PowerShell console over there. That's okay. So that is the difference between the Azure roles and the Azure AD roles. Then the question comes up, do Azure role and Azure AD roles overlap? So by default, the Azure role and Azure AD roles don't span Azure and Azure AD. However, if a global administrator elevates their access by choosing the access management for Azure resources switch in the Azure portal, the global administrator will granted the user administrator role, like is an Azure role, on all the subscription for a particular tenant over there. That's okay. Now let's talk about the role assignment over there. So if I am talking about that thing, so let me go back to my portal, and here in my portal, let me close those tabs. And here I'm on my Azure portal, and inside my Azure Active Directory you can see that I have multiple users are present. And let me select this one, that is going to be user journey. And in the user journey, if I go to the assigned role, so inside that there is zero assigned role available for this user. What the next thing I'm going to do, let me go ahead and assign the user administrator or user reader role to this specific user. Okay, so let me go ahead and provide the user administrator role to this specific user. And what the next thing I want to do, let me reset the password of this user because I'm going to make a login with that specific user. So here you can see from the Azure Active Directory, I have assigned the user administrator role to the user Johnny, and in some time we will be able to see that as a assigned role. Let me reset the password for this user, and that's okay. Let me go ahead and reset the password. Let me copy this, and I want to go ahead and paste it on my notepad for the future use. Then I'm going to make a login with that specific user. So I'm opening up my another browser for making the login to that specific user. And here I'm opening up portal.azure.com, and let me enter the user principal name for the same. This is going to be Johnny S at the rate this one. Let me enter the password what I have copied, and as of now I need to change this temporary password. Let me make a sign in, and let me set up a new password for the same. And once I go with the sign in and I was successfully signed into the portal, then you can see one thing, that this user is only having the access to the Azure Active Directory. By using the user Johnny S, if I want to create any resource or resource group, then you can see you don't have any subscription. And if I go back to the Azure and let me go to the subscription, so here you can see your current access does not include permission to view any subscription. However, if I want to go to the Azure Active Directory and I want to manage few users, like creating a user, resetting a password for the user, then I can easily do that. Let me go ahead and create a user. So by having the Zoni as user, I can go ahead and create a new user. For example, Abhishek. That's okay. Abhishek. And let me go ahead and create a user. So now, why this user Zoni S is able to create a user? Because I have assigned the Azure AD role to that specific user. So that's why this user, Johnny S, is able to manage the Azure AD object like users and the groups over there. That's okay. Now let me go back to my administrator portal, and from in here I am selecting any other user, that is Lee G. And for this user, here you can see there is no role assigned. And for the same, I am moving back to the subscription, and onto my subscription I am going to assign a role, that is my IAM role. And here I am going to use the Azure role, or I can say the role based access control. And here I am going to give this user access to the owner level onto the subscription. That's okay. So owner level access I want to give to the user Lee. Okay, and let me go ahead and review and assign. And I need to reset the password for this user as well. So now you can see this user is having the owner level access to the subscription. That's okay. Let me go to the Azure Active Directory, and as I have not remember the password for the user Lee, so I need to change or reset the password for the same. That's okay. So from in here, let me select the user Lee, and I want to reset the password for the same. and this is going to be the password. Let me copy it, and I'm opening up my another browser, and I'm making a login with this userly. And here is my browser. Let me open up portal.azure.com, and then I'm going to enter the information. Okay, and here let me enter the user principal name for the userly, and that is going to be, let me confirm it from my admin portal. Okay, what it is. Okay, let me copy it, and I am going to provide the user principal name, and this is going to be the default password what I have reset. Let me make changes into the temporary password, and I need to set up a new password for this user. So now, till the time this user is logging in, here you can see in the Azure Active Directory there is zero role assigned to this user. That's okay. So now here you can see from this user, if I'm logged into my portal and I go to the subscription, so on the subscription, userly is having the owner level access available. And if this user wants to create a new resource group or any new resource, then this user is able to create a resource, for example, SC-300 webinar, and this user is able to create that resource group. However, if this user wants to manage the objects in Azure Active Directory, then this user is not able to manage those things. Let me show you. In the Azure Active Directory, if this user wants to create any user, then see what happened. Inside the user, it is opening up. If this user wants to create a new user, then you can see inside the user option, the create option is disabled and the different options are disabled. This user won't be able to create a new user because this user is not having the proper Azure AD role available. So onto my userly, I have provided the Azure role to the subscription level. So that's why my user Lee is able to create the resource group and the resources in Azure. However, that user Lee is not manage the object like user and group in Azure Active Directory. So that is the difference between the Azure roles and the Azure AD roles over there. That's okay. Moving ahead and talking about the groups in here. So inside the Azure Active Directory, we can go ahead and create the different groups as well. Like we can go ahead and create a security group. We can go ahead and create Microsoft 365 group. We can go ahead and create different assignment types to the group. So if we want to manage member, if or in order to provide the resource access to the user, if we want to give the administrative access to the user, if we want to assign the licenses to the user, so in that case we can go ahead and create the security groups over there, as well as if we want to go with the collaboration opportunity by giving the member access to the shared mailbox, calendar, file, SharePoint site, and more. So for the same, we can go ahead and create Microsoft 365 groups over there. The important thing is that whenever we are creating a group, so we can have multiple assignment options are available. It means that when we are creating a user and we want to add the members to the group, so either we can go with the manual option, that is a assigned option, or else what we can do, we can go with the dynamic option where we can set a few automated rule, and based on that users will automatically going to add and automatically going to be a part of that specific group over there. So if we want to go with the dynamic membership rules, so we can create a rule like if the user's location is going to be India, so automatically add that user into the group India user. So that is how we can go ahead and create the different rules for the same. Now let's jump up to the portal and see how do we manage the different groups in Azure Active Directory over there. So inside my portal, here you can see if I am moving ahead with the groups option. So inside that groups option, we are having all the groups are available what we have present into this tenant console. And then if we want to manage the groups, if we want to create a group, so how do we go ahead and create a group? So for the same, you can see we have a new group option available. Once we go with that new group option, so here we need to select the group type. So we can select the security group type if we want to assign the Azure AD role to the group, if we want to assign the licenses and the things over there. So let me go ahead with the security, and this is my SC-300 A group, and I want to go with the assigned membership this time. In the owner, I am going to select the CDX user as a owner of the group, and in the member, I can select any user as a part of this member like Adel and Alex as a part of this group. So this is a assigned membership type group, and that is how we can go ahead and create a security group. So once we are done with that, so it could take some time in order to see that specific group into that specific portal. So I need to refresh my page twice and thrice, and then I will be able to see new SC300A group in place. That's okay. So now let me search for the group that is SC300, and in a short time I will be able to see that specific group. Now here you can see my SC300 group in place. So I can go ahead and utilize this group in order to give the role and administrative permission, in order to assign the license. Also, we can assign the different Azure roles to that specific group. That's okay. In the members option, you can see I have those members are available whom I have added as a manually. Now let me go ahead and I want to go with the dynamic user type. So inside the group, let me create a new group, and this group is created for Contoso HR team, and let me go with the dynamic user membership type. Inside the owner, I want to use my CDX user as a owner, and in the dynamic user member, I want to add one query, and in the rule, I want to add a rule if the department of the user contains or equals to HR. So let me go and select the equals to HR. Then I need to add those users into the HR group. If I want to validate my rule, so what I can do, I can add a few users. So let me select the user and let me add user 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 as a user. Be remember, I am not adding the user, I am just validating my rule. So now here you can see once I am done with that rule, I save this rule, then user 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 automatically going to be added in this group because the department for those users is set as a HR, and for rest of the user I won't be able to add it into this group because the department for those users is set to the IT. So that is how we can validate our rule as well. So once we are done with the validation, we can go ahead and save our group. And once we are done with the dynamic query, then let me go ahead and click on the create group. So it will create a new group for me, that is Contoso HR team. Same as like that, we can go ahead and create a new group. And I want to create a new group, that is my Contoso IT team. That's okay. And here I want to go with the dynamic user membership. I want to select CDX as a owner. Then I want to use a dynamic query for the same. And here I want to use the same query if the department equals to the IT. Then select those users or add those users automatically into the Conto so IT team group. Now my request submitted successfully. Let me refresh the page. And then here you can see I have both of the group available, Contoso HR team, and shortly I will be see the Contoso IT team. And inside the Contoso HR team, if I go to the member, then you can see my those users is automatically added to my group with having the HR as a part of the department. And then if I go back to my all group option, let me refresh this, and here I can see one more group, that is Contoso IT team. Let me refresh the entire page from the server. And from in here in the Contoso IT team, we can see the members, like all the members with having the IT department we will be able to see. So it could take some time. We can refresh our page twice and thrice, then we will be having those members available in here. That's okay. So that is how we can work with the dynamic membership or dynamic assignment to the members to the Azure Active Directory group. No problem. Let me again go back to the Azure Active Directory. Inside the group, let me go ahead and select my Contoso IT team group. In the owner, I can see that I have assigned myself as a owner. And in the member, okay, it could take some time and we will check it after some time. That's okay. So that is how we can work with the group. Now, if I'm talking about the Microsoft 365 group in here, so we can simply go to the Azure Active Directory. And then what we can do inside the group, we can go ahead and create a new group. Inside the new group, we can create a Microsoft 365 group. For the same, we need to select the group type as a Microsoft 365. And here we can type M365-GRP. And this is going to be the group email address for the same. If I want to set up the sensitivity label, then we can set up it. We can go with the assigned or dynamic user type. In the owner, I want to select myself as a owner. Selecting the group owner is optional. If you want, you can select, otherwise you can leave it as it is. And then let me go ahead and select few users as a part of my Microsoft 365 group, and let me go ahead and create that group. So Once I have created that group, so the difference between the Microsoft 365 group and the security group, that we are having the email address available to that specific group. And if we want, we can go ahead and send the mail to those groups over there. So that is how we can go ahead and create the Microsoft 365 group for the same. That's okay. Now let's move back to the presentation and move ahead with the next slide. And that is talking about the license management. So if I'm talking about the license management over there, so we can simply go ahead and assign the license to the users. And for the license assignment, we need to go to the specific license. Then we can select the specific user to which we want to assign the specific license. Or the second option what we have, we can go to the specific user. Then from the user plate, we can select the license option and assign the license to the user. The important thing is that if you want to assign a license to the user, then you must have to configure the user's location for the specific user. If the user's location has not been set for the user, then you cannot assign a license to the specific user. Apart from that, you can also go ahead and set up group-based licensing for the same. So for a quick note, if you are having few HR members are present inside the group and what you want, you can go ahead and assign the group licensing based service. For example, if you are having 10, 20 or 50 people are present into the IT team or into the HR team, and you want to assign the license to those users. So apart from that, going and assign the license individually to the user, what you can do, you can go ahead and assign a group-based licensing. So you can create one group like HR or IT, or you can assign that specific license to the group, and that license is going to be assigned to all the users what you have present as a part of the member of that specific group. So now let me go back to the portal and show you. Before that, here you can see license can be assigned to any security group in Azure Active Directory. You cannot assign license to M365 group over there. When a product license is assigned to a group, administrator can disable one or more service plan in the specific product. That's okay. All Microsoft Cloud services that require user level licensing are supported. Group based licensing is currently available only through the Azure portal. So if you want to go and apply the group based licensing, then you must have to use the Azure portal. Apart from that, Azure AD automatically manage the license modification that result from group membership changes. If a user is assigned the same license from multiple sources, the license will be consumed only once. That's okay. And administrators can take corrective action for user whom Azure AD could not fully process the group license. So you can go ahead and reprocess the license for the same. So let's jump up to the portal and see that how do we go ahead and work with the license management for the same. So let's jump up to the portal and see the thing related to the license management over there. So now here inside this portal, you can see that I am having two different groups are present like IT or HR. So if we want to assign the specific license to the HR member or to the IT member, so how do we do that? So in the HR team here you can see I'm having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 users are present. Okay. And inside my IT team, if I go to the member, I'm having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 users are present. So first of all, let me go to the licenses option and let me see how many license I have available. So into the all product, you can see for the Azure Active Directory Premium P2, I'm having total 100 license in which I have assigned one license and I'm having 99 license available with me. That's okay. So I want to assign these two licenses to the all the HR and the IT users. So for the same, we can go ahead to the my group, and inside my group, let me select the Contoso HR team, and into Contoso HR team, I can go to the licenses. Let me assign the license for Azure Active Directory Premium P2 and Enterprise Mobility plus Security E5. If I want to disable any one of the service, so we can also do that as I told you in the presentation. Then let me go ahead and save this one. So that is the one way how we can go ahead and assign the group license to the user. Apart from that, what we can do in the Azure Active Directory, we can go to the licenses option and then we can select the all product and feature. Then we can select those two license which we want to assign. Then in the assign option, we can select the group or user. So let me select the Contoso IT team and let me go with the select option and let me go with the review and assign option and let me go with the assign option. So that is the second way how we can go ahead and assign the license to the user or the group. Same as like that, if I go back to my Azure Active Directory or if I open this up, so here in the license group, you can see that this license is assigned to the Contoso HR and IT team. And in the license user, you can see that license is assigned to that specific user directly. Apart from that, in the Azure Active Directory, if I go to the user portal, from the user portal, let me search for my user, that is Microsoft CDX. In that user, in the licenses option, you can see I have assigned with Azure Active Directory Premium Free 2 with the direct option. Okay. Apart from that, if I'm selecting any one of my user from the HR or from the IT team, and then I go to the licenses option, then see what we are seeing in the path. So in the licenses option, you can see that I am having those licenses available, but it is inherited from the group Contoso HR team because my user 5 is a part of my Contoso HR team group. So that is how we can go ahead and work with the license management option over there. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the administrative unit in here. So we can assign one or more owner to one specific application. We can restrict who can create application and manage the application. We can create a custom role that define the specific permission. We can assign a built-in options for the same, and we can have delegate the administration in Azure Active Directory while using the administrative unit. So for the same, let me give you one example. And for the same, let me go back and I'm going to open a new whiteboard in here. So inside the administrative unit, you can see that I am having one HR department available. And inside my HR department, I am having user 1, user 2, user 3, user 4, and user 5 available. In my IT team, I am having user 6, user 7, user 8, user 9, and user 10 present. So in my Azure Active Directory, for example, I am having total 10 user, and apart from that, I am having 3 user like admin, admin IT, admin HR. So if I am assigning the user administrator role to the user admin, so in that case, that user is able to manage all the 10 users what I have in my Azure Active Directory. But I want to go with the least privilege access and we want to delegate the things accordingly. I want to set up that IT admin can only manage the users for the IT department and HR admin can only manage the user from the HR department. So for implementing that thing, what we can do, we can go ahead and utilize the administrative unit in the Azure Active Directory. And by having that, what we can do, we can add those users and the group as a part of two different administrative unit like HR and IT. And instead of assigning the admin role, user admin role to the administrator, we are going to assign that role to the admin IT and HR based on the administrative unit what I have created. So let me go to the portal and show you how do we work with the administrative unit over there. So here I am inside my Azure Active Directory. Here you can see that I am having this option available, administrative unit. And let me go ahead and add one administrative unit. And this is my IT AD unit, for example. And this is for IT team. Let me go to the assign role and I want to assign the user administrator role to the IT admin. And let me go and here you can see this is my IT AD unit and let me create this administrative unit. Same as like that, I can go ahead and add one more administrative unit that is going to be my HR AD unit. And this is for HR team. Let me go to the assign role and I want to assign the user administrator role to the HR admin for this administrative unit. Let me go to the review and create and all the configurations are good. Let me create it. So now you can see that I have created two different administrative unit. First one is for the IT team and the next one is for the HR team. Let me select the IT team and here you can see in the users, I can select the users from the IT team. So let me go ahead and select the user and from the IT team, let me select 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10 users because these users are from the IT department. And what I can do, I can add the groups for the same. So here I want to add the IT group as a part of this IT administrative unit. So I have added this group. Now, once I have done with the user and group assignment in this unit, then we can go ahead and do the same thing for the HR admin unit. So for the same in the user, let me go ahead and I want to add user 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as a part of my HR admin unit. And in the groups, I can go ahead and add my Contoso HR group or HR team group as a group in my Contoso or sorry, in my HR administrative unit. That's okay. Let me go back to the administrative unit and let me verify my configuration. So here I am having that group and those users are available as a part of my administrative unit IT. And inside the role and administrator, you can see I have assigned the user administrator role to my IT admin, and same configuration I make for the HR AD unit. And for the same, I'm having those users present as a part of HR AD unit. HR group is present as a part of my this group. We will show that thing later. And in the roles and the administrator, you can see that I am having user administrator role enabled to my admin HR. Now it's time to verify the configurations what we have made. So here I'm going to opening up my browser, and for the same, let me open my another browser, and I'm going to make a login with my IT admin user. Let me go to the portal.azure.com, and here I'm going to make a login with my IT admin, and this is going to be the user principal name for the same. Let me enter the default password what I have created when I'm creating this user. Let me change the temporary password and set up a new password for my IT admin. Let me go with the sign in. That's okay. And now here you can see that if I go to the Azure Active Directory, then inside that I can only manage the users who are part of the IT administrative unit. So first of all, let me go to the user 1 or user 2 or user 3 or 5. So let me go to my user 5 for example. And if I want to reset the password for this user, then okay, no problem. User 5 is for the HR. So now here you can see the user 5 department is HR. And if I go to the property, here you can see the department of this user is HR. And if I want to reset the password for this user, then you can see I'm getting this error. The password cannot be reset. This may be due to an incorrect level of permission. What if I go back to the user and I want to reset the password for user 7, and user 7 is a part of the IT department, and once I click on the reset password, then you can see I'm having that option available for resetting the password for my that user 7. That's okay. Let me re-verify our configuration, and I'm closing this browser. Let me open up my browser again. And this time I want to make a sign in with my HR admin over there. So for the same, let me go with the user principal name, and I need to enter the default password what I have set while creating the users. And let me change the temporary password as well. I'm going through with the sign in. That's okay. And here you can see from my HR admin, if I go to the Azure Active Directory and then I'm trying to access the users, and here I want to reset the password for user 7, 8, 9 or 10. So from the HR admin, let me search for the user 7 or 8, and let me click on the reset password. So now here you can see from the HR admin, I won't be able to reset the password for the user rec because the department for user rec is IT. If I go back to the user and let me select the user 3, that is a HR team user, here you can see, and I want to reset the password for the same, then I will be able to reset the password for the HR team user by using the HR administrator. So that is the use of administrative unit, and that is how we can go ahead and use the administrative unit in order to delegate the specific permission. So now here you can see we can define the role, we can delegate the app administration or the thing how we want. We can delegate the app registration. So that is the scenario which is deployed for the application. I give you the scenario where we are working to the user roles over there. So if you work with the app, then you can define the role, then you can delegate the app administration, you can delegate with the app registration, then you can go with the app ownership. You can develop a security plan, you can establish the emergency account, then you can secure the admin role, and you can make the privileged elevation temporarily. So that is how you can go ahead and use the administrative unit in order to delegate the things for the same. Then, if I am talking about the tenant wise setting, so we can have different tenant properties are available where we can set up the look and feel for your tenant, like you can configure the name, country, region, notification language, tenant ID, technical contact, global privacy contact, and privacy statement URL for your tenant. How do you manage those things? So in the portal you can see once you are in your Azure Active Directory, so inside your Azure Active Directory you can see in the properties option you can go ahead and manage the properties for your tenant, like what is going to be the tenant name, what is going to be the tenant ID, in which country and the region you are having your tenant, what is the notification language, what is the tenant ID, what is the technical contact, global privacy contact, privacy statement URL. If you want to give the access management for the Azure resource, then you can mark this option yes. And as well as if you want to work with the security default, you want to enable and disable it, then you can work with that option. So if I'm talking about the security default, so this is a security mechanism provided by the Microsoft, and by having the security default enable, the administrator accounts automatically enforced for the multi-factor authentication for protecting themselves for different identity based risk over there. So it's not recommended to turn off the security default, but if you are implementing the conditional access policies in your organization, then it is necessary to turn off the security default. Then after only you will be able to utilize the conditional access policy in your organization. So that is how you can work with the different tenant properties what we have discussed. Apart from that, if we are talking about the different settings, so you can make the setting for the member user. We can also put or set some setting for the guest user, like which user can register application, which user can manage their own profile like photo and cell phone number, which user can change their own password by setting up self-service password reset option over there, which user can invite B2B guests, which user can get all their information. So in that case, you need to go with the permission to register the application and access to the Azure AD administration portal, and it can be restricted accordingly. From the guest user, you can go ahead and receive the restricted directory permission. They can manage their own profile, they can change their own password, can retrieve some information about other users, group and application. You can we added those users into the administrator role, which can't full access to them. They can also invite other guest users and they cannot read the directory information. So we can have multiple settings, tenant-wide settings we can say that is available. So from where we can manage those settings, let me show this to you. In the portal, you can see that we are having the external identities are available. And inside the external identities, you can see set up external collaboration setting. And from in here, we can have those settings are available. Guest restriction, external user leave setting, collaboration restriction. So we can manage those settings from in here. That's okay. Now, moving ahead with the next concept that is talking about configure and manage Azure AD join and registration. So you can go ahead and register your device with Azure Active Directory, and that will enable you to manage the device identity. This will provide you the device with the identity in order to authenticate with the device when user is signing to the Azure Active Directory. When you are joining the device to the Azure Active Directory, so it is an extension to registering a device and that will change the local state of the device. You can go to the work school over there and then you can add your device over there. So if you want to enable the device right back, then you need to set the necessary permission in Azure AD Connector account in order to manage devices on your Active Directory. So we can have multiple device write back options are available. So if you want to enable the device write back, then when you register the device to the Azure Active Directory, it can be reflected into your on-premises Active Directory as well. That's okay. And now, if I'm talking about the external collaboration setting, so with the Azure AD B2B collaboration in the Connect admin option, we can set the different policy. If we want, we can turn off the invitations. We can set the policy that only admin and user in the guest inviter role can invite the user. Admin and the guest inviter role and the member can invite. By default, the setting is applied that all users can invite the guest user. So if I have invited any user guest like Ganesh and Ganesh want to invite any third guest user, then he can invite it. If you want to make those changes, you can go ahead and in the guest invite setting, make the changes into those settings as well. So that is something which we need to discuss as a part of managed external collaboration. Now, moving ahead and talking about the federated service over there. So in the federated service, we can say that we can go ahead and set up a federation. Now, you can see here, we are having two different identity providers are available, like identity provider A and the identity provider B. And here you can see that identity provider A trusts the identity provider B, and we are having the website present into the identity provider A, and when user B authenticates with the identity provider B, then that website or app service authenticates with the identity provider A. So here you can see the website uses the authentication service for identity provider A. User authenticates with the identity provider B, and identity provider A has a trust relationship configured with the identity provider B. So when the user credentials are passed to the website trusts the user and allow the access, and that is known as the shared access and the federated services over there. That's okay. Now, moving ahead to the next concept, what we have to discuss, that is adding a custom domain. When we are creating a new tenant, every tenant has a default domain name that is ending with .onmicrosoft.com. If you want to add your own custom domain and make it your primary domain name, then you can go ahead to your Azure Active Directory in the custom domain option. Then you can go ahead and use a custom domain. If you are having some subdomains available, for example, I want to add my this domain GTechLearn .com with my website. Sorry, in my Azure Active Directory, then we can go to the custom domain option and add this domain. Apart from that, if I'm having some support domain also available or subdomain available, like support.gtechlearn.com, or if I'm having help@gtechlearn.com, marketing help.gtechlearn.com, marketing.gtechlearn.com. So we can have these three subdomains available. And if we want to add those subdomain, then first we need to add the root domain, that is GTechLearn.com, and then we will be able to add those custom domains. So how do we go ahead and add the custom domain? So in the Azure Active Directory, here you can see if I am opening up my portal. In the Azure Active Directory, we are having that option custom domain name available, and we can go ahead and add a custom domain. So for example, if I want to add a custom domain, that is cloudclass.info. Let me correct the spelling, that is cloudclass.info. Then I need to click on the add domain, and then you can see the domain is added. But once the domain is added, then we have to verify that domain, that this domain belongs to me. So for the same, I need to add that txt record with my domain. Let me copy this record, and in my another browser, I'm opening up my GoDaddy account where I'm having my domain cloudclass.info available. And into this website, let me go to the my product. And then here you can see that I am going to my domain, that is cloudclass.info, and I want to manage the domain for the same, sorry, DNS for the same. And then let me go ahead, and here you can see I have multiple names are available. Let me go ahead, and I want to add a new txt record. The value is going to be @ this time, sorry, name. In the value, let me copy the value what I have, paste the value what I have copied. In the TTL, let me go with 1 hour or 3600 seconds. Once I have updated that DNS record into my DNS, then I can go to my Azure tenant and click on the verify. So it could take some time to reflect the changes. And let me go ahead and click on the verify again. So after 10 seconds, 20 seconds, or 1 minute, 5 minutes, I will be able to verify my domains. Now you can see this is the txt record, and in my GoDaddy account, I have just added that txt record in here. Let me go to that option, and now you can see that I'm having that record available. That's okay. Let me go ahead and click on the verify, and now you can see that domain is previously configured onto that specific account as well, and we cannot add that domain. If we want to add this domain in here, then first we need to remove that domain from in here. So how do we do that? Here you can see. Let me open up my another browser. And here I'm logging with portal.azure.com, and from in here let me type the user principal name, and this is going to be the password for my this account. That's okay. And now you can see the domain what I'm trying to add with my tenant is already added to the another tenant, that is this one. That's why I am not able to add that domain with that specific account. So no problem. What I can do inside the custom domain option, I can select that custom domain, and let me go with the delete option. Okay. Sorry. So now here you can see that from my previous tenant, what I am having this domain added, I have deleted that domain from in here. And then if I want to verify the settings again, so into my this portal, let me verify the settings again. And once the verification gets done, then I will be able to use my this domain when we want to create a user. So if I want to make this domain as a primary, then we can also make this domain as a primary as well. So as of now in my active Azure Active Directory, you can see that when I go for the creating a user, then inside the user principal name, I'm having both the options are available over there. So that is how we can go ahead and add a custom domain. Now moving ahead to the next concept that is talking about the Azure Connect. So that is the very important tool what we have present as a part of the synchronization, and this tool help us to synchronize the on-premises account to the Azure Active Directory over there. So let's have a look over to the Azure AD Connect. So Azure AD Connect is an on-premises Microsoft tool that will help us to integrate our on-premises directories, and it will provide a common identity for accessing both cloud and on-premises resources over there. For a quick example, in my on-premises Active Directory, I am having user Shivam, I'm having my user Ram, I'm having my user Ganesh here, and I am having Office 365 and different SaaS applications associated with my Azure Active Directory, and I need to give those resources access to my on-premises users. So by implementing the Azure AD Connect, we can synchronize those users towards the Azure Active Directory, and once the synchronization has been done, then we can go ahead and assign the access to the resources of my Azure Active Directory to those users as well. So that is the way how we can go ahead and assign the resource access to the users. And for accomplishing that task, we can use the Azure AD Connect tool. If I'm talking about the authentication method, so we are having these three type of authentication methods are available. Like we can go with the Azure AD password hash synchronization, we can go with the Azure AD pass-through authentication, and if we are go with the federated authentication that is done by the on-premises Active Directory, so in that case we can work with the directory federation services over there. If I'm talking about the password hash synchronization, so by using the password hash synchronization, that is a simplest way to enable the authentication for the on-premises directory object, and users can use the same password that they are using for the on-premises in order to make a login for the same. Important thing is that when we are working with that thing, so once users are synchronized to the Azure Active Directory, in that case the password hash for the user is also synchronized to the Azure Active Directory, and when user makes a login, then all the authentication process is going to be happen in the Azure Active Directory. What else? When we are talking about the other one, that is Azure AD pass-through authentication, in that method, a sign-in method allow the user to use the same password in the on-premises and cloud both, but it doesn't use the additional infrastructure, and in that case all the authentication will be redirected to the on-premises Active Directory. So in the pass-through authentication, it will provide a simple password validation for the Azure AD authentication, and server validate the user directly with your on-premises Active Directory. It means that if any sign-in request was made when we are using the pass-through authentication, in that case all the sign-in request is going to be handled by our on-premises Active Directory over there. Then, if I'm talking about the federation integration, so that is an optional part of Azure Connect, and it can be used to configure hybrid environment using an on-premises Active Directory federation server infrastructure. It also provides ADFS management capabilities like certification renewal, additional ADFS server deployments over there. So that is the federation thing what we have to discuss, and federation Azure already hangs off the authentication process to separate trusted authentication system, that is our federated server or federation server, and that authentication system can provide additional advanced authentication requirements for the same. Important thing is that when we are working with the Azure AD Connect, then we have two important things are present. The first one that is synchronization, and the second one that is health monitoring. The synchronization is something that is responsible for managing users, groups, and other objects, as well as making sure that identity information for your on-premises user and groups is matching with the cloud. This synchronization also include the password hashes when we are using password hash synchronization as a part of the authentication method. Then after, if I'm talking about the health monitoring over there, so the Azure AD Connect Health can provide the monitoring for the central location in the Azure portal in order to view the activity over there. That's okay. So Azure AD Connect Health enable you to maintain the reliable connection to the Microsoft online services, and you can see that option or information into the Azure AD Connect Health portal once you have Azure AD implemented over there. So here you can see with the Azure AD Connect Health, you can enable the email notification, you can delete a server or service instance. You can diagnose and remediate duplicated attribute sync error. And what are the synchronization error we are having? Like data mismatch error, we are having the duplicate attribute and the data validation failure. If I'm talking about the Azure Connect Health benefit, so it will provide us the enhanced security, and it will also get alerted on a critical ADFS system issues if we have implemented into our organization. The best practice is that external lockout rank failed sign-in report in privacy compliant. In that case, we are having the server configuration and availability, performance and connectivity information, and the regular information related to the maintenance, what we can have present into the Azure AD Connect over there. That's okay. Now, moving ahead and talking about the multi-factor authentication. So if I am talking about the multi-factor authentication, so that is the way that will provide us an extra layer of security, and that is a process in which users are prompted during the sign-in process for an additional form of authentication such as code on their cell phone, fingerprint scan, authenticator application. So if we were only using a password to authenticate a user, then it leaves an insecure vector for attack. And if the password is weak or it could be exposed anywhere, then attackers could easily gain the access easily. But if we are using the second form of authentication like security, like MFA over there, so this will provide us the extra layer of the security over there. And by using the Azure AD multi-factor authentication, we can have different authentication methods are available, like something that typically contains your password for the password you are using for the login. Then the something you have or something you possesses, like any on of your trusted device or hardware key what you are using, and then it comes for the something you are, and it means that your biometric information, your fingerprint information over there. And Azure AD multi-factor authentication and also further secure the password reset So when user register themselves for the Azure AD multi-factor authentication, they can also register for the self-service password reset in here as well. If I'm talking about the different supported method for the authentication, so you can have mobile app verification, you can have call to phone and text to phone option available over there. That's okay. Now, before moving ahead with the concept to the self-service password reset, let's have a look how do we go ahead and set up a multi-factor authentication over there. So for the same, let me jump up to the portal. That's okay. Let me go back to the portal, and here you can see that if I want to set up the multi-factor authentication for one of my users, then here you can see inside the user section in the manage group, we can select that option that is per user MFA. Let me go with that option, and from in here, we can enable the multi-factor authentication, and it can have multiple states like disabled when the MFA is disabled, enabled when the multi-factor authentication is enabled, and once user provided the MFA information, then it is going to be enforced. So for example, I want to configure the multi-factor authentication to my user Johnny. And in the case here you can see I'm having this user present. Let me select that user and I want to enable the multi-factor authentication for my this user. Once the multi-factor authentication is enabled, let me open up my another browser where I want to test the multi-factor authentication enablement. And here I'm trying to make a login to the Azure portal with the user Johnny S. Let me enter the user principal name for my user. And in that case, this is going to be Johnny S at the rate, this one. And this is going to be the password for my user. And now here you can see as I have enabled the multi-factor authentication to this user, then it says that more information required. Let me go with the next, and then I need to provide the specific detail that which type of detail I want to use as a part as of multi-factor authentication over there. That's okay. So it is opening up the sign-in prompts for me. And now here you can see in this screen, either I can go and use the Microsoft Authenticator app, or I can go ahead and use the phone for the same. That's okay. So this time I want to go with the Authenticator application, for example, and I have installed that application in my mobile phone. Let me go with the next option, and I want to set up a new account. And now here I want to add a new account. So I need to scan that specific QR code onto my mobile phone. And let me do a scan. And once I have scanned the code, then let me go with the next option. And now when I click on the next, then it will send one notification for the approval in my mobile phone. And I need to approve this application in order to confirm it. So once I approve, and now here you can see the notification approved. Let me go with the next and click on the done. So that is how we can configure the multi-factor authentication to the user. And now you can see the multi-factor authentication is configured. Let me close this browser and I again try to make a login with that specific user. This is Zoni S. And let me enter the tenant name. And I want to make a login to the Azure portal with that specific user. Let me enter the user principal name, and this is going to be the password. And once I hit enter, then you can see that a notification is coming up on my phone, and if I decline, then you can see the user sign in got failed, and here you can see I have denied the request, and now you can see the request denied. Let me send another request, and when I approve the sign in, then the sign in was successfully completed. So that is how we can configure the multi-factor authentication to the user. Let me select this request and I want to approve it. And once I approve the request, then you can see user Zoni is able to sign into the portal. So that is the way how we can enable the multi-factor authentication to the specific user. That's okay. Now, if I'm moving back to the presentation and moving ahead with the next topic, that is talking about the self-service password reset. So if we want to set up the self-service password reset, so by having that capability available, user can go ahead and reset their own password. It will reduce the loss of user productivity. So first of all, we need to configure and enroll the user to the service password reset. That will reduce the help desk effort. We need to require and assign a license for Azure AD Premium P2 if we want to go ahead and use the Azure AD self-service password reset option. And then we can manage the no admin and IT intervention for the same. If I'm talking about the enabling the SSPR option, in that case, first of all, we need to enable the SSPR to the specific group. So if we want to set up a SSPR, then we need to put those users inside the specific group. Then we can select that group as a part of enabling the SSPR. Then accordingly, we need to set up the authentication method, registration and the notification related things, and then we will be able to configure the SSPR. If I'm talking about the licensing options, so for the cloud user only, if they want to change their password when a user is Azure AD knows their password and they want to change, that option is available in Azure AD Free Edition, 365 Business Standard Edition, Premium Edition, and the Azure Premium P1 and P2 Edition. When the cloud only user wants to reset their password, when user in Azure AD has forgotten their password, then with the free license, user cannot have that capability. If user is having Microsoft 365 Business and Standard license, Premium license, and Azure AD Premium license available, then in that case, user can go ahead with the password reset. I'm having one hang raise, so you can please put your query on the chat and I'm happy to answer the query from your side. So please put your query on the chat. Then if I'm talking about the hybrid user related scenarios over there, when user in Azure AD that synchronized from the on-premises Active Directory wants to change their password or reset their password, then we can go with the business premium or Azure AD premium license for the same. That's okay. So these all are the licensing options are present what we have related to the SSPR. So let me go ahead and give you a brief demonstration related to the SSPR, that how do we go ahead and manage the self-service password reset in Azure Active Directory. So here you can see in this browser, I am opening up portal.azure.com, and then let me enter the user that is going to be my user 01. For example, let me go with the next and I want to enter the default password for the user. Okay, and as the first time I'm trying to make a login, so I need to change the password for the user. Let me enter the next password what I want to change for the user 01. That's okay. And now you can see user once able to log into the Azure portal. Then what if this user wants to reset their own password? So how do we do that? Let me close this browser, and again I'm opening up my browser, and let me go to the portal.azure.com, and here let me enter the user principal name, that is going to be user 01 in my case. Let me go with the next, and I want to reset my password by using forgot my password option, and let me enter the captcha, that is RXVY, and let me go with the next option. Now, in that case, you can see we are sorry, you cannot reset your own password because password reset is not turned on for your account. You must contact your administrator to turn on the password reset for your account. Now, the thing is that the password reset is disabled in the Azure Active Directory. That's why this user is not able to reset their password. So in the password reset option, you can see that is selected as a none. Let me go to the selected option, and then I want to select the group to which I want to set up this SSPR, and let me select the Contoso HR team. Okay, and let me save it. Once I have saved this setting, then let me go to the authentication method, and I want to use one authentication method, and that is for mobile phone SMS only. And then let me go with the save option. In the registration option, what I have present in here, you can see how many after number of days user must have to again provide the MFA information. So by default, it is set to 180 days. For the demo session, let me leave that thing into it. Now let me try to make a login again with the user. And as I have enabled the self-service password reset, then first user have to provide the contact information. So I am logging into the portal with the user 01. Copy this user principal name, and let me enter the password for the user. And now here you can see I need to provide the contact information first. That's okay. So let me quickly provide the user 1 contact information in order to test the self-service password reset. And here let me select country, and this is going to be the phone number. Let me go with the next. And then I'm expecting one code on my mobile phone. And the code is 100639. Let me go with the next option. And once the verification has been done, then let me open up the another browser. And here I'm trying to test the self-service password reset capability. Okay, let me go with that. Let me correct the spelling. Portal.azure.com. And here I want to make a login with this user. And as of now, I want to reset my own password for the user 01. And here, let me enter the captcha, that is NJWQ. We go with the next option. And now you can see I need to enter my phone number in order to reset my password. So this is going to be my number. Let me make a text on my mobile phone. And then I need to enter the verification code, and that is going to be 961539. Let me click on the next. Then I need to enter the new password. So let me enter the new password. That is going to be this one. And once I am done with that, let me go with the finish option. So that is how we can implement the SSPR, self-service password reset, in my organization, and we can provide our user capability in order to work with the SSPR. And this is the password what I have reset, and let me make a sign in with that new password, and yes, I will be able to sign in. So that is how we can work with the self-service password reset. Now, moving ahead and talking about the next concept what we have, that is conditional access policy. So what is conditional access policy? So as per the name, we can see where we are providing the access according to the condition based. So that is something which is known as a conditional access policy. So how it works and what are the things which we need to discuss. So if I'm talking about the conditional access policy, so that is a statement that if any user want the access to any specific resource, then what is going to be the action the user must have to complete, and based on that the access of the user is going to be allowed or the blocked. If I'm talking about the license requirement, so if you are having Azure AD Premium P2 feature or Microsoft 365 Business Premium license available with you, then you can easily go ahead and configure the conditional access policy for the same. Okay, and for the same, here you can see the conditional access policy can take the signals from the different resources. Like it can take the signal from the user location, it can take the signal from the different devices, applications, real-time risk over there, and accordingly it will allow the access or block the access. And also if it will allowing the access, then it could require a multi-factor authentication in order to give you the access to the application and the data what you are having inside your organization. So that is something which we can do by using the conditional access policy. It will increase the productivity, it will manage the risk, and you can mm, down the risk factor for the compromise. We can address the compliance and the governance related thing by the same. We can manage the cost and we can implement the zero trust methodology by using the conditional access policy for the same. That's okay. So if I'm talking about the conditional access components over there, so when we are implementing the conditional access policy, then we are having the multiple components are available. Like we need to set the assignment that on which user and the group we are going to assign that specific policy, which cloud apps or actions are selected as a part of that specific conditional access policy what we are applying, how we are going to create the condition that in which conditions we are going to implement that specific conditional access policy, how we want to grant the access. We want to grant the access, we want to block the access, or we want to grant the access with the required condition. Like if user is trying to access the application in my Azure Active Directory, then user must have to go through with the multi-factor authentication related thing. So that is how we can go ahead and work with the conditional access things over there. And in the conditions, we can set up a condition related to the device platform. We can set up the condition according to the location. We can set up the condition according to the client application, as well as we can set up the condition according to the device state as well. So these all are the different components what we have present. That's okay. Now, if I'm talking about the conditional access example, so if we want to require a registration from a trusted location, if we want to block access by the specific location, if we want to require a complying device in order to access any resource for my organization, or else if I want to go with the exclude access from emergency and service account to the resources, then we can go ahead and implement the conditional access policy for the same. As well as if we want to use the terms of use, then we can go ahead and require the terms of use for the conditional access policy as well. That's okay. So let's jump up to the portal and see that how do we go ahead and manage the different conditional access policies over there. So let me go back to my portal, and here you can see in the Azure Active Directory, we can go to the security option, and from the security what we can do, we can select the conditional access, and from the conditional access we can go ahead and create a new policy. But before creating a new policy, let me go ahead and set up a new named location. So I am creating one named location in here, and this is going to be India. Let me create it, and I want to create a conditional access policy for blocking the access by the location. And in the conditional access, let me go ahead and create a new policy, and this is for block access from India location for user 1. Okay, and in the user workload and identity, let me select the user. I want to select the specific user, and this time I am going to select my user 01 for this demonstration. Let me select it, and in the cloud app or action I am selecting all cloud application. In the condition I want to set up a location, so in the location I want to go with the selected location, and I have selected the India location what I have just created. And in the access control, let me go ahead and block the access for the user 01, and let me click on the select, and I want to turn on this policy right away, and then let me create a new policy. And once I am done with the creation, then now you can see I have this policy on, and that is for block access from India location for user 01. That's okay. Let me test that specific policy. So for the same, I am closing up this browser as of now, and let me again open another browser for the same. So here, let me close this browser, and I'm going to open a private window in here, and here let me make a login to portal.azure.com with the user 01. Let me enter it, and this is going to be the user principal name for the user 01, and then I'm going to enter the password for my user 01, that is this one, and let me make a sign in. Now here you can see you cannot access this right now. Your sign-in was successful but does not meet the criteria to access this resource. For example, you might be signing from the browser app or location that is restricted by your admin. So that is how we can use the conditional access policy. If I'm talking about the conditional access terms of use, so in the Azure Active Directory, if I go back to the identity and governance, so here you can see that I am having one option available in the identity and governance that is for the terms of use, and where it is this one. And if we want to create a new terms of use where we want to set up that if any user want to access any resource or service from my organization, then user must have to select or accept the terms of use. So for example, this is TOU, and if I want to upload a PDF, so let me go to the desktop, and for the example I have selected this SC-200 example app. Okay, and it is quite big, so no problem. What I can do, let me go ahead and just give me a quick moment. I am preparing one PDF. So let me go ahead, and I want to go with this option, and let me go with that. And this is my TOU document. I'm preparing one on my end, and let me open up my portal, and let me go back. Okay, let me go ahead and open my Azure portal. And from in here, I am going to Azure Active Directory. And from here, let me jump up to the identity governance. Inside the identity governance, I am moving ahead with the terms of use option. Let me create a new terms. Okay, and this is my TOU Contoso. And in the upload document, let me select my TOU document, what I have just created, and require user to expand the terms of use. Okay, and then let me go ahead and create it. Let me select the language. So in the language, I'm going to select the English, and this is Contoso terms of use. I can set up, and once I'm done with that, and let me select the 10 in here, and I don't want to create conditional access policy as of now. Let me create the terms of use first. So now here you can see I have created one terms of use document which user need to accept if they want to get access to the specific resource over there. That's okay. And once I have done with that, let me go back to the security option. And from the security, I am going to create a new conditional access policy in the conditional access. And this time I want to create a new policy, and TOU conditional access policy. And I want to assign this policy to my user, Johnny. Then in the condition, I don't want to set any condition. In the cloud apps or action, let me select all cloud app. Then inside the grant access option, I want to say that grant the access with the terms of OU consent, and yes, Let me go with the select. And in the condition, let me select one thing, that if Johnny user is trying to sign in with the location India, then user must have to follow the terms of OU over there. Let me go with the create. So once this conditional access policy is created, then I'm going to access the portal with the user Johnny. And now you can see this policy is created. Let me open up my browser, and here let me go to the portal.azure.com, and I want to make a login with the user Johnny. Here I am entering the password for the same, and once I hit into the sign in, okay, the authentication is required. So let me approve the sign in for this user. And once I have approved the sign in, okay, okay, no problem. So it could take some time because I have just applied the conditional access policy. And now here you can see I have applied that to the specific user Johnny. And once I have applied this one to the user Johnny, and which user is selected, this one, and I want to grant the access to the user, and here you can see grant access, but require the terms of use over there, terms of use control. So what I have completed, and require one of selected, that thing is okay, and I'm okay with that. Let me verify the things into the governance portal as well. So inside the identity and governance portal, let me go with the identity governance. And here on the terms of use, let me select this one. And if I want to add it, so require user to explain terms of use on, the language is okay. And now here you can see everything is good. That's okay. So okay, so it could take some time, and then after, if I'm trying to sign in with the user, then now here you can see, then I will be able to see the terms of use as a consent. That's okay. Now moving ahead with the next part, that is talking about the access package. So as an access package, we can set up a list of a resource like the access to the group, access to the application and the site, along with the different roles to the user who need the access to the resource. And there is a policy we can include with the access user for the rule that who can access the specific package. So when we are adding a new user over there in our organization, and we want to give some resource access to that specific user, then we can go ahead and utilize the access package for the same. That's okay. Apart from that, if I'm talking about the access review, so that is a part of the identity governance over there, and that will help the users to ensure that the right people have the right access to the right resources. And if the user access time completed, then they can remove their access by reviewing their access by own, or we can set up the reviewers for the same. That will help us to mitigate the different type of risk by protecting the access to the resources, by monitoring and auditing access to the critical resources, while ensuring the employee and the business partners productivity is not affected. And we can perform those things into the Azure AD identity governance. Then we have a PIM option in place, and we can go ahead and implement the privileged identity option if we want to go ahead and set up a time-based activation role to the user, and we can go ahead and use that option in order to provide the just-in-time access to the user for a specific period of time when they want to access to the specific role and the resource as well. If I'm talking about the key features of the PIM, so that is going to be assigned the time bound access to the resource by using the start and the end date. When any user is trying to activate the privileged role, then it will require a approval. It will enforce the multi-factor authentication to activate any role. When any user is trying to activate the privileged role, then the multi-factor authentication is enforced automatically. User can use the justification to understand that why user wants to activate that specific role, and if you check, the administrators will get notified when privilege roles are activated, and that will conduct the access review to ensure user still need the roles or not. And you can also download the audit history for the internal or external audit, like after enabling that specific role, what are the changes that has been made by the specific user. So we can have different options are available as a part of the key features. So that is all what we have to discuss in here as a part of the PIM as well. Now, if I'm talking about the few practice questions, what we are having in or what we can see in the examination, what we can be see in the examination. So let's jump up to those questions as well. Moving ahead with the question number one, you have an Azure Active Directory tenant named contoso.com. You plan to bulk invite Azure AD business to business collaboration user. Which two parameter you must include when you create the bulk invite? Option 1, email address. Option 2, redirection URL. Option C, username. Option D, shared key. Option E, password. So please put your answers on the chat. So the correct answer for this question is going to be A and B. You have to put the email address and the redirection URL into the bulk create file as we seen in the demonstration as well. That's okay. Thank you for the quick answers from your end. Moving ahead to the next question, that is, you have an Azure Active Directory tenant named contoso.com that contain an Azure AD Enterprise application named App1. A contractor uses the credential of user1 at outlook.com. You need to ensure that you can provide the contractor with access to App1. The contractor must be able to authenticate as user1 at outlook.com. What you can do, you can run new AZAD user CMD. You can configure external collaboration setting. You can add WS Fed identity provider, or else you can create a guest user in account in contoso.com. So please mark your answers on the chat. I'm starting the timer for the same. Okay, I'm getting the answers on the chat. Thank you for answering. So for this question, the correct answer is going to be D. We can create a new guest user account into the contoso.com if we want to give the contractor access and the contractor wants to authenticate with that specific account. That's okay. Moving ahead to the question number 3, you have an Azure AD tenant, you open the risk detection report. Which risk detection type is classified as a user risk? Options are impossible travel, anonymous IP address, atypical travel, or leaked credentials. Please give your answers on the chat. Okay, so for this question, the correct answer is going to be D. The leaked credentials are classified as a type of a user risk. That's okay. Moving ahead to the question number 4, you have an Active Directory domain that syncs to an Azure Active Directory Azure AD tenant. The on-premises network contains a VPN server that authenticates to the on-premises Active Directory domain. The VPN server does not support Azure multi-factor authentication. You need to recommend a solution to provide Azure multi-factor authentication for VPN connection. What should you include in the recommendation? Azure AD application proxy and Azure AD password protection proxy, network policy server, a pass-through authentication proxy. Please give your answers on the chat. So for this question, the correct answer is C. We can go with the network policy server and PS on the same. That's okay. Thank you for the answers on the chat. Moving ahead to the next question. You have an Azure Active Directory tenant named Contoso.com that has Azure AD identity protection enabled. You need to implement a sign-in risk remediation policy without blocking the user access. What should you do? First, configure access review in Azure AD, enforce Azure AD password protection, configure self-service password reset for all users, implement multi-factor authentication for all users. Please give your answers on the chat. So for this question, the correct answer is D. You can implement the multi-factor authentication for all of the users. That's okay. Moving ahead to the question number 6, your company requires that users request access before they can access corporate application. You register a new enterprise application named My App 1 in Azure Active Directory and configure single sign-on for My App 1. Which settings should you configure next My App 1? Self-service, provisioning, application proxy, roles and administrator. Please give your answers on the chat box. So for this question, the correct answer is going to be A. We need to configure the self-service next for My App 1. Moving to the next question, you have a Microsoft 365 tenant in Azure Active Directory. You configure the terms of use. You need to ensure that only user who accept the terms of use can access the resource in the tenant. Other user must be denied access. What should you configure? An access policy in Microsoft Cloud App Security, a conditional access policy in Azure AD, terms and condition in Microsoft Endpoint Manager, a compliance policy in Microsoft Endpoint Manager. Please mark your answers on the chat. So the option B is correct. We can implement the conditional access policy as we seen in the demonstration if we want to go with the terms of use related thing. That's okay. Moving to the question number 8, you have a Microsoft 365 tenant. The sign-in activity report shows that an external contractor signed into the Exchange Admin Center. You need to review access to Exchange Admin Center at the end of each month and block sign-ins if required. What should you create? An access package that targets user outside your directory, an access package that targets user in your directory, a group-based access review that targets guest user, an application-based access review that targets guest user. Please give your answers on the chat. So for this question, the correct answer is C, a group-based access review that targets to the guest users. So accordingly, we can block the sign-ins if required. Moving to the next question, and you have an Azure Active Directory P1 tenant, you need to review the Azure AD sign-in logs to investigate sign-ins that occurred in the past. For how long does Azure AD store events in the sign-in logs? Options are 90 days, 30 days, 14 days, or 365 days. Please put your answers on the chat. So for the correct answer, this question is 90 days, and Azure AD store 90 days sign-in logs for the same. Moving to the last question in here, you have an Azure Active Directory tenant named contoso.com that has Azure AD identity protection policies enforced. You create an Azure Sentinel instance that configures the Azure Active Directory connector. You need to ensure that Azure Sentinel can generate incident based on the risk alert raised by Azure AD Identity Protection. What should you do first? Add a Microsoft Sentinel data connector, configure the notify setting in Azure AD Identity Protection, create a Microsoft Sentinel playbook, modify the diagnostic setting in Azure AD. Please give your answers on the chat. So for this question, the correct answer is going to be A. We need to add a Microsoft Sentinel data connector for the same. And that is all from my end into this exam prep session for SC-300. Thank you very much for attending this SC-300 exam prep session today. And thank you very much for joining me today in the session. You can visit to gtechlearn.com/webinars.aspx in order to register yourself for the upcoming events and the webinars what we are having in GTech. Thank you.